This is my review of the Tamron 85mm 1.8 with VC. The 85mm focal length is legendary in the portrait industry, and people that love a slightly longer prime than a 50 really love an 85. Very recently, Tamron's really stepped up their game with their SP line of lenses. Their 15 to 30, particularly optically, is fantastic, although it is quite heavy. Tamron's recent thing seems to be putting VC into primes, that's image stabilization, and that's exactly what they've done here.
Okay, so technical specs. This is obviously an f1.8 maximum aperture with a minimum aperture of f16. It's got a front filter thread of 67mm, and it's obviously a stabilised lens, hence the VC in the title. This focuses internally and has full-time manual focus. It's got 13 elements in 9 groups, which also sports a moisture-resistant construction made out of aluminium alloy. Weighs about 700 grams. It's available in Canon EF, Nikon F and Sony A mounts.
This would set you back around $750 in the US and £750 in the UK. Some places a little bit cheaper. So that's putting this in the price bracket of a premium lens. That's obviously nearly 3 times as much as the Canon 85 1.8 and still significantly more than the Nikon 1.8G lens.
Okay, I'm just going to show you some sample images to see whether this lens really does justify that premium price tag. So here's the first one. This is a picture of my cat Bubbles. This is wide open at 1.8. This is actually shot adapted on my Sony a7 II. Going in at 100% on that eye. Look, I mean, that's a fantastic result. The sharpness there, the contrast is great, colours look really good. Obviously incredibly shallow depth of field. This is just another shot to show the kind of fall off you're going to get with 85mm and f1.8. Again, the detail on this kettlebell here is pretty good. And you can actually see where the focal plane was, and you can see the focus fall off there. The background just pretty much disappears to mush. The difference between 1.8 and 1.2, obviously in terms of light, is relatively significant, but in terms of background blur is really not that much. Here's another sample shot taken on the 5D Mark III. This was stopped down ever so slightly to f2. Again, going in here on this person working out at the gym. You know, you can see the individual hairs on his beard. You can see he's got kind of a little bit of sweat going on here. The contrast and the sharpness of this lens are really, really impressive. I suppose we really want to know though how they compare. So you've got the 5D Mark III on both images, and you've got the 85 1.2 on the left and the 85 1.8 from Tamron on the right. And at 1.2, obviously the Canon still looks excellent, fine detail, but the Tamron literally just seems to be on a par, wide open, seems to have no problem at all. Now I know that is 1.8. and that's something you have to take into consideration, but the level of sharpness here is fantastic. I'd say at least on a par, especially in the centre. Moving towards the edge of the trunk, obviously there's a bit more of a focus fall off on the Canon because it's 1.2 and not 1.8, but sharpness is very comparable. And just for argument's sake, stopping the 85 1.2L down to 1.8, it's going again. You know, it's pretty much level pegging. The difference in sharpness here, if any, is absolutely negligible. In the real world, just something you're not going to notice a difference with. The only thing we are noticing here is that the Tamron does have a little bit of vignetting in the corners. It's obviously something you can very easily correct for in post.
So how does this perform? Well, I've now used this on a number of shoots, and I'm happy to report that it focuses very, very quickly, very, very accurately, and fairly quietly. The VC is fantastic. I'm finding I can regularly handhold shots at least 1/25 of a second. And optically it is fantastic. Even wide open at 1.8, the detail is just astonishing. The background blur is beautiful because of those 9 rounded aperture blades. And obviously whilst you're not going to get quite the same background blur as the 85 1.2, because of that difference in aperture, you're still going to get a serious amount with this focal length if you're near the minimum focusing distance or a portrait length. One thing not advertised is that this actually works with the metabones with the IAF function on a Sony camera, so you could use this adapted. Colours and the contrast and the sharpness of this lens are beautiful. This really does seem to justify the price tag. So in summary, I've been really impressed with this lens, almost blown away by its sharpness, its contrast, its colours, and just the way it performs overall. It's built really solidly, and I think it's something you'd really enjoy shooting with if you enjoy using primes. That price difference between the 85 1.2L for Canon system is something you can't ignore. It's half the price. And unless you seriously need 1.2, I would honestly go with this instead. Save the cash and go somewhere and shoot, because I think that's going to be a much better option for you. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in purchasing this or any other gear, please use the links below. Those really help support our channel. And please subscribe for more videos and content. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.